This is Adam / Templar Storm / Empress Canaries / I'm going to do this partially off of the screen because it's artistic. Basically just going to go over some things that I learned from the tournament, since I learned stuff from every battle. That's the great thing about playing this game, is that I've been playing for a very, very long time. Yes, it's been a while. I have no idea when I started, but it was not too far into 3rd edition, so you always learn new stuff, especially at tournaments, because you're up against the best of the best, especially you, Bob. Every time I play against you, I'm like, holy crap, why did I do that with deployment? Last time was disastrous, and I learned very quickly not to do that. This time was not as bad, but I think I would have fared much better had I done different deployment. So, thank you for exploiting that, because now I know not to do it again. Just going to go over some of the stuff through each game. In the first game I played off against the Tau. The game went pretty well for me until the last turn, when he unloaded the Fire Warriors onto the objectives and I seemed completely unable to hurt them all of a sudden. So if a few key rolls had gone differently on both sides, he could have won that. If 2 key rolls had been slightly different, he would have tied. So that's cutting it a little bit close. So things I should have done differently in that, things I learned from that one. For starters, Vanquisher didn't do anything in all 3 games. In the first 2 games against Bob and against Tau, Eric's Tau, it literally did nothing. Not a single thing. Against the Tau, he was smart. He marked that thing every turn, and he just kept shaking it and kept shaking it. So that made it worthless for me. Against Bob, just failed everything. Against Gerald's Space Wolves, it did blow up the Land Raider, but it only blew up the Land Raider with a lucky shot from the las cannon. So Vanquisher sometimes does me really well, but I think I'm going to end up taking it out and putting in a different Rust in its place. Going through the rest of my list, just in general, the Sentinels, both squads of them the Sentinels have to be some of my VIPs. They weren't the best. They weren't the absolute best unit in my army, but my gosh, those Sentinels did well this game, and I only lost 1 in all 3 rounds, so I consider that to be impressive. In round 1 against the Fire Warriors, against the Tau, Eric's Tau, I really like the paint job on those, by the way. Against him, they ran forward a little bit, did a little shooting, they killed quite a few Kroot, but what really saved him, and possibly saved the game, very possibly saved the game in that one, is I managed to get my Armored Sentinels forward enough into the cover in the middle that the rest of the remaining Kroot squad was in, charged them, killed just enough that take leadership. They failed. They fell back, and they had lost enough from the combat with the Armored Sentinels that they couldn't regroup, which is key, because they'd just gotten into cover. They could have just been going to ground, and I would be wasting everything trying to get them out of there, and he probably would have captured that objective. So Armored Sentinels, Scout Sentinels were key in that game. In the next game against Bob, I kept him off. I kept him in reserves because there wasn't a lot of room on the table, and because in the tournament we were doing, vehicle squadron is counted as a kill point for each vehicle, not for the whole squadron, and fast attack was weighted as 2 kill points. So between my 5 Sentinels, I had 10 kill points. 2 of my Sentinels, my Scout Sentinels, are armor 10 all around, open topped. So starting them on the table against World Eaters was not something I was looking to do. Fortunately, they didn't come in right off the bat. I could have used a few extra shots from them, but I didn't want to throw away kill points, so I was kind of happy when they came in near the end. They shot up some stuff, helped finish off a few squads. So they didn't do a whole ton in the second game. They did a little bit. They didn't give up their kill points, so that was nice. But in the last game against the Space Wolves, I had deployed on the left-hand side. You can kind of notice in the pictures in the video. On the right, I put all of my tanks. In the left, I put my heavy weapon squads initially, 2 of them. And he outflanked and shot up one of them. And then he was about to charge the other one the next turn. And I brought in all my reserves on that left flank and got the squad down to maybe 5 or 6 guys. And there was an HQ in there, and they could pretty much sweep through my entire flank with just those guys. So I made what I thought was going to be a suicide move of my armored sentinels into them. I assaulted them with my armored sentinels because I have front armor 12, and he's got crack grenades, but he needs 6s to hit. So I charged that. I killed, I think, 1 or 2 on the initial charge. Took no damage in return, even though he had a power fist too. So I actually ended up winning the combat. Didn't do anything then. We went through quite a few rounds of combat. I eventually charged in 2 smaller infantry squads, which eventually got destroyed. And I was just doing no damage for a while, and he did no damage back to me. He hit me with, he actually only wounded me hit me and wounded me with 1 grenade. Not a single power fist, and the grenade just shook me for a turn. So that was extremely useful. I tied up that squad. I blocked a lot of line of sight from the Land Raider and all that. And eventually, and I think the last turn, I charged in my Scout Sentinels. So I had 5 Sentinels charging into this combat. And I did enough wounds that he was just down to his HQ, and he's fearless, so he took no retreat and died from that, which HQs were weighted for 3 kill points. So I got 4 from that, and none of my Sentinels got hurt. So they were definitely VIP in that game. But another thing that I would like to point out in my list, as always, more than usual, the veterans were amazing. I lost 1 Chimera in the game against Gerald with Space Wolves, and I lost 1 Chimera in the game against Bob with his World Eaters. I didn't lose both in either game, in any of the 3 games. I only lost 1 and 2 of them. And my veterans, not a single entire veteran squad was wiped out in all 3 games. So that was nice. In the game against Tau, they were instrumental in killing off the crew, especially the squad of 20 that was near my 1 deployment edge. And they ran up and contested and killed a bunch of fire warriors on that objective. So without them, I would have been screwed. In the second game against Bob, they rode around shooting in the Chimeras. 1 squad disembarked, killed a Predator. Running around shooting, just a wound here and there. And between the 2 squads of them and a little other fire, they managed to kill off an entire Raptor squad as well, which was the majority of the damage I did to his army, because I didn't do that much. But in the third game with Gerald, unfortunately, one of my Chimeras got down on turn 1. Turn 2, I was stupid, I forgot to pop smoke. So that was my fault halfway. But those guys just ran around then, because they couldn't get to anything, so they just kind of hung around my tanks. Okay, so my camera died again. I kind of really hope I'm on screen, but I can't tell, so I'm using my still shot camera. So, my vet squads against the Space Wolves, they were very awesome. So the ones that were kind of just hanging around eventually ended up killing off the scout squad that came in off of my board edge and killed my Land Raider, or my Layman Russ. So they ended up finishing them off, which was nice because my other Layman Russ was going to be dead the next turn if I didn't do something about it. The ones in the Chimera that didn't get blown up with the Primaris Psyker, rode around shooting some stuff. Most importantly, they killed the dreadnought from the drop pod that I seemed unable to kill, which was also worth 2 kill points. And then they were pretty much out of range from everything. But veterans did very well. I didn't lose an entire squad in all of the games, so definitely worth it.